Our next speaker is Cowboy Jack. They gave me a paper to talk about Cowboy Jack. Cowboy Jack has an educational and fun channel. He's a YouTube star. He has over 225 million views. I'm thrilled when I get 200 views, okay? So I just want to say something about Cowboy Jack, though. His real name is John. We even call him Cowboy Jack in our house. But I called John several years ago when I found out about him and said, my son is autistic and we have a company called Team Awesomism because I've always told my son that he has awesomism, not autism, because God made him the awesome one. The rest of us, we're just the same. He's the one who's awesome. I barely got through my little speech. I had 3 speeches planned to talk him into doing something with us. And he said to me, "It's for autism?" I said, "Yes." He said, "I'm all in. What do you need?" It meant everything to me. He has 2 beautiful children. Neither are on the spectrum. But John went on a TV show in Houston and talked as much about Team Awesomism as he did Cowboy Jack. That's dedication to our cause. So when Dolly asked me to be the co-host of this, I said, there are 2 people I really, really want, Matt Morgan and Cowboy Jack. And she said, "Okay, dear," and they're both here. So it's super exciting for me to be up on the stage with both of them. But Cowboy Jack, if you haven't checked out his videos, you need to. They are learning. They are phenomenal, and they are hilarious. Like, I have watched his videos dying of laughter, okay? And he's not trying to be funny, just so you know. He's literally, like, he's learning how to be a barista. It's hilarious. And he is so popular among my son's friends who are all on the spectrum. So I really encourage you, if you have children on the spectrum or you're an adult on the spectrum, please watch Cowboy Jack, because he doesn't get on there with nonsense. He gets on there and teaches learning in such a fun way, and it is amazing. So with that, I will introduce John, my dear friend, Cowboy Jack.
Thank you for the wonderful introduction, Miss Lynn. It's great to be here at the Rodeo Cowboy Convention. Wait, I wore the wrong costume, doggone it. No, I'm excited to be here today. It's a miracle that we're here. I'm super pumped to be, even thought of to be speaking in front of you. So I am Cowboy Jack. I make an educational and fun show for kids. And, today I just want to talk to you as John. My real name is John Havard. I'm a dad, business development manager for an industrial heating company. And then I also have this show, right? And so I'd like to tell you the story behind how I came up to be Cowboy Jack. And Matt, you said you had a timer. I don't see a timer up here. I'll ramble all day. So, okay. So somebody just throw a dart at me when I'm running out of time. So we had our kids later in life. My wife and I were actually married about 9 years before we finally decided to have kids. And my whole life, I was the youngest of 4 boys in my family. My wife was the youngest in her family. And so anytime anybody would be like, "Oh, do you want to hold my baby? Do you want to see my baby?" I'm like, "Oh, get that thing away from me." I had never had the experience of being around small children, and I fought it for so long. They frightened me. But once I had kids, it instantly changed my life. It's like, wow, there's this little miracle that was given to us, and we're responsible for it. That's a little scary, but at the same time, it's an absolute miracle. But so we had kids, and we had a lot of strong opinions about how this was going to go down. First and foremost, we were never going to be those parents that go to dinner with our children and give them an iPad, let them watch something. We're not watching TV at home. Those are just hard lines I've drawn. We're not going to be TV parents. Well, I was in Cincinnati for work, and I had just had a full day of job walks and presentations to engineers and doing my normal thing. I used to travel about 70% of the time for work. And I was out of town, just like most of the time, unfortunately. And it was starting to wear on me. My son was little, and He was about 2.5. And all of a sudden, we were in Cincinnati, or I guess I should say Kentucky. We had just done we sell to a very large bourbon manufacturer in Kentucky. So we had done our thing. We ended the day with a brewery, with a distillery tour, and we were having some spirits, enjoying ourselves. And I got a call from my boss that, hey, I don't know what's going on. They just shut down the Houston rodeo. I think you need to get home. And that was when COVID-19, the pandemic, the whole world came to a screeching halt. And so I called my wife. I said, hey, I'm coming home. She's like, oh, great. And so ran to the airport straight from there and got home as quick as I could. And didn't leave for a long time, unfortunately. But what that did, all of a sudden, my wife and myself were both working from home every single day, just breathing each other's air. If your marriage can make it through that, that's amazing. And we did it. So that was great. But at the same time, we had work. We still had to work. We're working from home, but we still had work. We had responsibilities. And our son is at home with us. So we caved, and we're like, if I can just get him watching a show for a little bit, I got to jump on. At the time, it was Skype. Now it's Microsoft Teams. But I got to get him occupied so I can do what I have to do to put food on the table. And man, some of the shows out there for kids are just different. I used to have some real hard opinions about some of these shows, and I've softened up a lot because I think there's a great multitude of shows out there for children, and I think all kids respond to different content differently, and they each have their own place. But for me and my family, what was available to my son was not reflective of the Mr. Rogers that I grew up with, was not reflective of the Sesame Street I grew up, was not reflective of the Captain Kangaroo that I came up with. And it just ate my lunch. I just kept talking about it every day. And my wife finally got sick of hearing me, and she said, look, if you hate it so much, why don't you make your own show? Well, we had bought a video camera to record our son, our 2.5-year-old son, unwrapping Christmas presents, because I thought that would be pretty cool. He's at the age where he can start ripping presents open and doing that stuff. So we'll get a video camera. So I told her, I said, you know what? You're right. Let's just try it out and see what it's like. It's during COVID. I'm not traveling. We've got the time. Let's just make it happen. And so we did. She followed me down to the pond in our neighborhood, and I did a little fishing episode. And we showed it to our son, and he loved it. It was incredible. I mean, the whole process was hilarious for us. We had been married a long time. I had never heard my wife laugh as hard as when I dressed up as Cowboy Jack, and I'm doing these things and trying to explain what I'm doing, not knowing anything what I'm doing, and she's chasing me with a video camera. She's actually pushing a stroller with our newborn daughter along with us. And then, the hilarity didn't stop there. The real fun started when we went to edit that video, because we're watching YouTube videos on how to edit it, and then I'm hearing my voice 1,000,000 times a day. I don't know if any of you have ever been on camera before. I don't care who you are, you're never gonna love your voice. I don't think voice actors love their voice. It's a very strange dynamic to hear yourself on camera. And I'm laying in bed at night after we get our son to bed, and I'm hearing my voice say the same thing over and over and over. But anyways, I'm still not over that today. But we put it out there we didn't put it out there. I just had it on a flash drive, and we would plug it into the TV and show our son this video. And of course he loved it. And my wife, Andrea's like, he likes it. I think we're onto something. I said, baby, he likes it because it's dad. And so she took it upon herself to show it to some friends' kids, and they liked it. And she said, baby, I think we're onto something. I said, Andrea, I love you, but you're crazy. These kids like it because it's Mr. John. And you get bored enough during COVID, you're finally willing to cave on some things. And at the time, we had great access to facilities. The local children's museum was shut down because of COVID. We asked them, could we come in and film a video for our kids? They said, absolutely, come on in. A bowling alley said, hey, come on in. There's nothing going on anywhere. So we had free reign of the world. You want to come in and film something? Great, we'll turn the lights on for you and leave you alone. And so we had 4 or 5 of these things, and my wife finally just said, you know what, I don't care what you say. I was nervous. I work for an industrial heating company. I sell to engineers and construction companies all across the United States. It's a pretty rough and gruff man's world, right? I was worried I'd be, met in the parking lot with some resistance as to me dressing like this in public. They were going to think I'm crazy. They're going to, they're going to pull my card. Something bound to happen. Well, we put it online, and the response was overwhelmingly positive. It was a really creative time and place and time, a really great place and time to do something like that. I think the world was hungry for something different, and we put it on there. And today, it's crazy. It's the primary outlet for my show is YouTube, of course, and YouTube Kids. And that's great, but we've also been picked up by, Amazon, Tubi, Hulu, Yippee TV. Yippee TV is the most incredible platform I've ever experienced in the world. Whether you're a parent who is, raising a faith-based family or not, it is a Christian streaming app for kids. But more importantly, it is the safest streaming platform for kids in the world. They literally screen every single second of every video that's coming in to make sure that it's good quality content for kids. And you just don't get that out of other platforms. Not to say they don't do screening, because they do. YouTube does the best they can. Think about the amount of content that's thrown at the corporation of YouTube, Alphabet Inc. They get probably hundreds of thousands of submissions every single day that they have to go through to make it to the kids app. I think they do, it's like drinking from a fire hose. You do the best you can. But just to give you an example of how extreme Yippee takes it, at one point I made a video with a local radio station, Mix 96.5 Houston, shout out. And in the background, when we were talking to the sports crew about what they do to report on the sports on the AM station, there was a beer sign in the background with some scantily clad women who were promoting this certain beer. We made this video. My wife is always my wife is my cameraman, my editor, my scheduler, my planner, my everything. I'm just the guy in the hat. But we put this video out there to the world without thinking anything of it, being very cognizant to make sure we don't put anything bad out there, to make sure that we're being respectful of everyone's wishes and respectful of each family's different values. And we submitted it to Yippee, and they pulled it. I said, what in the world is wrong? I said, well, there's a beer sign, and there's, scantily dressed women. So, there are places out there, if you're looking for somewhere safe to stream content, I would highly recommend them. But just, anyhow, that was a rabbit hole I didn't mean to go down. But we put this show online, and it oddly enough becomes this crazy pastime of me and my wife. We get a babysitter, we get somebody to come watch the kids on a Saturday or Sunday morning, and we'll go film an episode. I dress up like this. She's wearing her regular clothes, of course. And she goes and watches me be silly for about an hour and a half. And then we go eat breakfast together and talk about how crazy the week was. And it's become our little escape. But more than that, it's a passion project. So I was maybe 10 episodes deep when I got a message from this woman on Instagram. She uses Instagram. I'm not very good at it. I'm not cool. But I get a message from this lady, and she says, look, I think what you're doing is incredible, and I think it's impactful for everyone on the spectrum. And I said, well, I don't really understand that. She said, meet me for coffee. And I said, oh, okay. And I told my wife, hey, I'm going to go meet this woman for coffee. And she goes, who is it? And I showed her the account. And she goes, I don't know if it's, what are you going to have to offer? I said, I don't know, but I'm going to find out. And that's when I met Lynn White. She invited me to have coffee with her and one of her friends, and they sat me down and they explained to me what I'm doing. So my show is a kids show, and it would be very easy for me to be like, hey guys, whoa, hit something. Hey guys, it's me, Cowboy Jack. Let's all jump up and run around and have a great time. But that's not what I craved for my own children. So what I did is, howdy cowboys and cowgirls, I'm Cowboy Jack, and today we're here at the ICAN conference in Orlando, Florida, and we're going to learn some amazing things from some of the smartest people you've ever met. How does that sound? You want to come with me? Let's go. And that's how we make our show. And I find that by accident, that's what we do. I use my real speaking voice, and I'm just, by nature, I'm a Texan. I move slower. I talk a little slower maybe, but that's just who I am. But Lynn taught me that there's value in that. It's comprehensible for everyone. It's relatable for everyone. And if I learned anything from Lynn and from this autism community, because I don't have personal experience in it, but I do have a great deal of compassion and care for it, the thing I learned from Lynn is that what everybody in the world needs, especially the autism community, but downright everybody, is a buddy, a companion. And maybe that companion isn't real life. Maybe it's not somebody they interact with physically, but you can interact through the screen. And I try really, really hard to do that. I will always credit you with teaching me that, and it's stuck with me, it resonates with me. Every interaction I ever have in life now, I think about that. It was very powerful, very moving, and I'm grateful for that. So, back to the story. What were we talking about? But, everybody processes things differently. Even, myself, I process things differently than the next guy. Mr. Morgan was joking about insecurities as a dad. Well, I join him on that journey, but I one-up him. I'm insecure in almost everything. Now, I do have the gift of gab, so I can get up here and talk to you for a minute. That doesn't scare me a bit, and I'm going to have a good time doing it. But, one-on-one interactions, I can get a little wonky. We all are different. If we were all the same, you know how boring the world would be? It would be terrible. We're all made absolutely different, think absolutely different for a purpose. Because when all those things come together, Mr. Morgan, even in politics, I'm sure you can agree with this. If we all agreed on everything, there wouldn't be a need for elections, would there? We're all different for a very specific purpose. So what we do is we just try to be calm, collected. We show up present because, like I said, everybody's looking for companionship. And if we can get that virtually, a lot of folks have different living situations. Lynn has taught me so much about adults on the spectrum. Of course, I'm, always thinking of the kids because kids are incredible. They're resilient. They're amazing. And it's the coolest thing to interact with kids. But these adults on the spectrum, maybe they've outlived their parents. Maybe they're all alone. Maybe they're in state care. You don't know. There's different, levels of functionality and everything. And that can be extremely isolating. So never discount the value of something that you can watch on a TV or a computer screen or a tablet. Its value that it can bring. And I've learned that as I go. It's crazy. I never thought that I could connect with someone that I'm not even supposed to talk to. And I say that because there's a lot of online laws. The COPPA, the Childhood Online Privacy Protection Act, actually, doesn't stop with kids. It goes all the way up. I am not legally allowed to go online, to chat with kids online. That's a good thing. The government hit this one out of the park. Although I don't agree with the not allowing ads for kids because, God, that would help pay the bills. But at the same time, they do a ton to protect as much as possible these little minds and these adult minds online. And I'm not supposed to communicate, but I feel that connection. It's a one-sided thing. I'm on the video, and folks are watching me do my thing. But I know when I look at those views on my phone, I can look at the YouTube app, for example, and I can see. We've had some incredible months. I had a month, the month of December, we hit 40 million views in a single month. I am just a boring suburban dad. I downplay it a lot. I think we're onto something spectacular, but what we're onto that is spectacular is from the group CloudThink that comes to me and all these great people that I've encountered in my life that have helped me and assisted me with this journey. But the truth is, you meet me in person, I'm a pretty boring guy. I like to fish, I play a little guitar, whatever. It's normal suburban dad stuff. But we put this on, and all of a sudden, we're relatable to all these people, and I look at those views, and I can tell that something amazing is happening. I can tell that I made a difference in somebody's life that day. And, parents interact with me. Of course, you want to promote anything these days, you got to be online, you got to be in the social medias or whatever. And I'm also obsessed with it. It's like my weird outlet, right? So Cowboy Jack on Facebook is actually just John Havard with a cowboy hat on. And parents will send me messages, and I'll get messages from, some of the things we focus on are life experiences. And you can learn a lot of life experiences through Cowboy Jack. We specifically film an awful lot of doctor's offices. I want anyone, any child, any adult to feel super comfortable going for a doctor's checkup. How can we do that? Well, we can give them a little preview of what it's like to go to a doctor's office through the eyes of Cowboy Jack. We can go to the dentist and get our teeth cleaned and explain that there's nothing scary about it. It's actually really essential to our health, and it can be really fun. We did that. That was really fun for me. The first dentist episode we ever made was with my brother, who's a pediatric dentist. He's amazing. But the fun part about it is he looks like a twin. we look almost identical. We're 4 years apart. He's older, I'm cuter, whatever. But after we filmed with my brother and we made this dental visit episode, I started getting these messages on Facebook saying, hey, I don't know if you know this, but I have a 12-year-old son who's on the spectrum, and he just went to the dentist for the first time without sedation because he knew what to expect because of your show. Whew. Before kids, I wasn't a crier. Now I'll cry at a good commercial, a dog walking by, earlier when my alarm clock went off, a lot of things. But, those things are powerful. And we did this by accident, but then we fine-tuned it because of folks like this and folks like yourselves. That live feedback that comes in through the community is just extremely valuable. And we've done things like going to the eye doctor and getting your teeth cleaned like I talked about. But so many other things. Being a barista, like Lynn said earlier, we went to a coffee shop just to see that. You know what? Maybe there's somebody out there that inspires them to go get a job at a coffee shop, gain a little independence in their life. There is so much we can do by just being a buddy, just being a calm, cool, collected, and I come off as it on the screen that I'm very confident, but that's because there's a camera pointed at me. You take that camera off of me, I have the same insecurities as everybody else. But I think what's happening with this conference, what you guys are here for, what's going on is absolutely incredible. Not only for the kids involved, of course that's where my heart is, but for the adults. Because those adults one day are always going to, they'll outlive their guardianship. They'll be on their own at some point. And what we do today empowers them for tomorrow. It's very, very powerful. So I really appreciate you guys having me here. I'm up here dressed like a cowboy. Just to fill you in on why I'm Cowboy Jack. When I decided I was going to make a show for my son, the thing that really resonated him was Toy Story, and his favorite character was Woody. And so I thought, what can I do? Well, I'm a Texan. I already had the hat, and I already had the boots. I needed something extra, so I got this ridiculous leather vest. If I could go back in time, I would change the leather vest, honestly. Not because it's not cool and awkward to wear in public and gets a lot of looks, because it does, because this thing is much hotter to wear than I ever imagined. This is like wearing a wool jacket in the middle of summer. We film in Texas. Our cameras shut off during the summertime, so if I could redo anything, it'd be the vest. But that's why I'm a cowboy. Is I was trying to resonate with my son, and then it just birthed this character that's taken off and everything. But I am up here dressed in this silly outfit. I hope y'all like it. It's all I brought. But if anybody has any questions, I'd love to field some. We always have a few really big things in development. One of the big things that we focused on now is getting more distribution, because we're on a lot of streaming platforms, but we're trying to dig deeper into those really quality content platforms. So I've got some things I can't talk about yet that are coming up, and we're angling to do some longer form stuff, and we've got some really cool destinations. We're finally to the point, Cowboy Jack is great, and we love doing it. It's a passion project. When you hear that we get 40 million views, I'm sure you have 40 million views in a month. I'm sure you have some assumptions like, Cowboy Jack arrived here in his private jet. He drives a Lamborghini. All these things. That's just not the case. Kids' content does not pay the bills. It would be great if it did, but it doesn't. It's really a love project for us. But we're to the point where we're starting to reap some benefits, right? We've got some destinations that are offering to come to take care of our travel, to come film with them and things like that. So we're trying to expand beyond Texas. Right now we're kind of handcuffed to the Montgomery County, Houston area, and it's growing. So We were on YouTube about a year and a half before we started getting picked up by the others. And some of them were easier than others. You know, the smaller platforms are more easy to get in touch with, like the Amazons and things like that. You have to actually get an agent because it's speaking a different language, and it's just, you know, but crazy. But yeah. I am Cowboy Jack. I have no background in being a cowboy other than the fact that I am from Texas, right? We love animals. Me and my wife have 5 dogs ourselves, and that's actually a small number. We always have had at least 7. But we're big animal lovers, and you can imagine making content specifically for children. You get offered the opportunity to film with a lot of animals. And people always see Cowboy Jack, and they just assume that I'm a cowboy. And so I'll show up on a working cattle ranch. We filmed with this man, Ronnie Williams, at the Williams Ranch in Huntsville, Texas. He is a Hall of Fame rodeo cowboy. And we show up, and he goes, "All right, Captain Jack." By the way, he kept calling me Captain Jack over and over, and I didn't have the heart to correct him. But he goes, "Why don't you hop on this mare, and we'll go ride out the pasture. We can round up a couple cows, and then I'll teach you how to rope." And I was like, "Ronnie, I hate to break your heart, brother, but you're going to have to show me how to get on that horse." "What do you mean? You're wearing cowboy boots. You got a hat on. You're Cowboy Jack. How are you going to tell me you can't ride a horse?" And, well, it's pretty easy. I got bucked off of one once, and I've been terrified ever since. But yes, whenever we do ride horses, like we did a Horse of Course Stables in Conroe, Texas. We made a video with them, and when we got on horseback, of course we rode a helmet because we want to promote safety in everything that we do. Although me as an adult, I might not wear a helmet every time I ride, I want to promote that it's cool, fun, and amazing to protect yourself. We do things for fun, but at the same time, we want to be able to go home and have the same life at night. Just like when we go to work. You never want to go home work any different than the way you left. So always prepared, always safe. You know, I don't know, honestly. That's a great question. We haven't taken Cowboy Jack International, but we interact with people all over the world. And it's funny, you look at your statistics on YouTube actually does a great job of telling creators what's happening and where their viewership is coming from. And South Africa is a big market for us. That's great. We tend to be big wherever cowboys are cool. And so if I go in order, we've got the US, and then we go to New Zealand, and then we go to Canada, and then India, and then we hit South Africa, and Australia and some of the other markets, and also very large in England, in the UK. But, you know, I wish I could speak to the fact of if my perspective was different because of where we're from and where we're based, but I really don't know, because I try to get as much as, I'm thirsty for advice, and I'm always listening. I'm always trying to improve this thing. I think that's the beautiful thing about Cowboy Jack, is if you go back and watch episode number 1 to the episode I just released last Saturday, they are worlds apart. And we pride ourselves on being, you know, flexible and changing. And my wife is always telling me, stop talking so much, because I do talk a lot in my videos. And she's always reminding me, slow down, and we're always trying to make things better. But anytime I can take advice from somebody on a different continent, especially in a different country, give me a different perspective on things, I'm all ears. We're very interactive on social media. That's really, because being on YouTube, especially YouTube Kids, there are no comments section. So it's impossible for me to get feedback from any of the streaming platforms that we're on, which make it unique, right? And like I said, I don't want to be interacting with the children. That's wrong, and I don't want to encourage kids to be on social media. We're all on it way too much already. I do love, that's how I get the feedback and everything, and try to bridge the gap. And I have a lot of pen pals that are adults in the autism world, and I never shy away from, birthday shout-outs or anything like that. It's just a lot of fun. I'm in a weird paradigm, because I am a social cat and I need the interaction, but I can't get it through my main resources, my main outlets. So I have to be creative with it. And I try to, whenever I find something astronomical that I think is of value to the community, or, to any community. not only are we, big in the autism community, I found out recently that, there are several facilities that are actual hospice care facilities for seniors that use our content. So we're getting that to them so they can have it in native format and show it to their patients without ads or interruptions. And I think with them, these are full-blown adults that are going through end-of-life care. It's a very unique situation. But I think, again, they're just looking for a companion, a relatable buddy. And if I can be that for somebody in their last moments, what an honor. I don't think there's any greater honor in the world. With that, I think we'll wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Welcome all the panelists, Dr. Temple Grandin, Dr. Alok Sharma, Ms. Lynn White, Dr. Richard Bowles, Thomas Silent, Ms. Stacey Hoagland, Ms. Elizabeth Bonker.
I've been to all the tech companies, Microsoft, been there, Google, a lot of the other, Apple, and there's all kinds of autistic people there.
35% of autistics cannot use speech for communication. I learned to type at age 5.
I stopped talking for 6 months, but I was also absorbing information like a sponge.
I'm a geneticist, so that's what I focus on. It can teach you what things that can help to mitigate the problem.
One of the things right now that's a big push right now is how hyperbaric medicine can affect autism, or positively, right? And hyperbaric oxygen therapy is one of the best anti-inflammatories.
We are treating younger children at about 3 with stem cell therapy. Within 6 months, they are going off the spectrum.
Every person that I ever met with autism, they all want to be a valuable member of society, to have a quality of life that every human wants to have.
This is going to be a very unique panel discussion. I mean, we've got such distinguished people here coming from different backgrounds, different specialities, different age groups, different everything. This is an open discussion. It's open questions for all of you. But I'd like to kickstart the discussion by asking Temple, the autism that was there in your age group, or that Bill Gates describes, and the autism that you see now, could you share with us, what do you think, what is the difference?
Well, I had definite speech delay, absolutely definite. Some of the things that have been discussed that might be possible causes didn't exist. I'm 77 years old, and then I'm thinking back to when I was a child and when I was young, people that would have been called Asperger's, where there's no speech delay. A lot of these grandparents that come up to me and talk to me, they're old enough that some of those other things wouldn't have caused it. And what I got to thinking about all of this, like there was some very severe stuff discussed, there's a lot of people where they're just slightly geeky. I think they've always been here. So is autism increased detection or something else? I think it's both. And I think on this real mild end, some of the people I worked with in these shops, they wouldn't have had speech delay, but they would have been taking shop classes. And I think all the screen time has made a lot of stuff worse. But then you get into remains nonverbal. That's very severe. Regression at age 13. Then you have the kids that regress at age 3. Some of those kids, how are those different? That needs to all be looked at really carefully. It was interesting in the genetics talk, it said genetics, but then in some trigger. But there were plenty of people from my generation that would have been the Asperger type, where and I know that's not used anymore, no speech delay. My father was probably one of them. He also had allergies, and then we both have eczema and skin rashes. I have Meniere's disease that I managed to get into remission. That's autoimmune. I think we need to separate it out, the Asperger type from much more severe, where there's a lot of other things wrong with them. And now I do know in my generation there's always been kids that would just label mentally retarded. Yeah, now those have always been around too. But I think we need to be looking into all of these things. And I'm recommending let's limit the screen time. I was very happy to see a little 3-year-old glued to the window of the plane last night. We were coming in when it was dark and all the lights were on. Not glued to a phone. A lot less screen time, a lot going back to some 1950s, just teaching some basic social skills. And the ones that are slightly geeky are going to do a lot better. Because these grandparents I talked to all had jobs, decent jobs. They managed to keep them. But where it helped was with relationships. getting a diagnosis, and it probably would have helped my father. I'm almost positive he was on the spectrum. No speech delay. That's maybe a very different thing than some of this much more severe stuff. And the first thing I want to do is take the data and like divide it and start doing some categories, like a multivariate analysis on the data, to see how it breaks out into categories. And there's all the discussion about Kennedy. Well, we both might be right. You see, on one part of the spectrum, I think it may be just increased detection, but some of this more severe stuff, some of these other factors may be involved.
If I may. Oh, and I'm what I like to call a zennial. I have Generation X's work ethic and millennials' tech savviness. I was born during the Star Wars years, like late 1983. I just aged myself there. But I also see some of the development of how autism has appeared over the years. For instance, when I was first diagnosed, or even before I was diagnosed, I stopped talking for 6 months when I was about 2 years old. But I was also absorbing information like a sponge. So when I finally spoke again, I was ready to wring that sponge out. I could read, write, spell, rearrange magnetized letters on the refrigerator into words. I would rewind Sesame Street over and over again, my favorite parts of movies. We've really come a long way since thinking that Dustin Hoffman and Rain Man is the definition of autism, or at least that's what they had to work with back then. You didn't need to have an intellectual disability, mental retardation, whatever you want to call it. In the mid-90s, that was when diagnostic criteria changed, and I was officially diagnosed then with mild autism. Yes, the term Asperger's syndrome was thrown out there, but my formal diagnosis was mild autism.
Back in the 80s, you had to have speech delay to be autistic.
6 months of non-speaking, that was considered a speech delay. So I fit the bill, more or less officially, but it was also really an eye-opener. So that explains why I rewind videos, why I do what I do. So having knowledge of that diagnosis, understanding how it came to be, and what I'm going to do about it. This is the hand I've been dealt. I don't want to change in the sense that if you were to say there's a cure for autism, you want it? I'm saying no, because I am who I am, and I wouldn't be who I am without autism. And like I said, belief in yourself. Mm-hmm. In your own time and space.
Well, so this is an open discussion. Anybody can jump in. So, Taita, do you want to talk about some of your work?
Sure, I'm happy to. So just to give you a quick overview, as you kind of probably heard from me, I'm a pediatrician. I have cerebral palsy, was born in 28-weeker, 18 surgeries later. Here I sit by the grace of God as a pediatrician and a hyperbaric medicine physician. But one of the things that I do, I run a facility all across the United States and abroad doing hyperbaric medicine for special needs individuals, for both children and adults. I've treated all indications for hyperbaric oxygen therapy, the 17 that are approved in the US, and over 65 internationally. One of the things right now that's a big push right now is how hyperbaric medicine can affect autism, or positively, right? And hyperbaric oxygen therapy is one of the best anti-inflammatories out there available, better than prednisones, better than anything else like that. The big key before I go into a little bit more, I'll take 2 minutes, it's important to note that correct type of hyperbaric chamber is necessary, right? As the president of the American College of Hyperbaric Medicine and a key opinion leader in that space, it's making sure that we don't have a lot of these soft shells and the misunderstanding of how to use hyperbaric medicine safely and effectively. But the bottom line is it does work because you're mobilizing stem cells through nitric oxide pathways, and you're able to see when you use hyperbaric oxygen therapy, it addresses... Are you saying the soft shells don't work? I'm saying that a lot of them aren't as effective. Yes, ma'am. I think that there's a safety effort there. They're not covered by the FDA. People don't have the right training. They work in terms of some depth, but I think that there's a larger breadth there that has to be, make sure you're doing it effectively and correctly, right? So we see this a lot. But you'll see a lot of anti-inflammatory processes and stem cell mobilization where you have actually an 8 to 12 times increase of your stem cells, and that's why these kids are improving. And when you combine them with some of Dr. Alok and other stem cell programs, you can see dramatic improvements. And so we're seeing the same kind of testimonies that you are showing in your presentation, Dr. Loke. new speech, ability to pick up new language. It's incredible results.
Is your work published? Do you have scientific papers showing the results?
There's well over 250 published papers, both in India and across the United States. There's actually, apart from that, there are just in autism, there's over 200 published papers in terms of showing the anti-inflammatory effects and how hyperbaric medicine can mitigate and improve autism and its effects.
Richard, would you like to jump in? Genetics versus environment.
It's not versus, it's always both. The genetics is who is at risk. I mean, let's face it, no one has perfect genetics, and no one has a perfect environment. But some children are being affected and other children are not, even though they're in the same, very similar environment. The difference is genetic risk. But even if you have the genetic risk, does not necessarily mean that you're going to get it. You have to have a permissive environment as well. So it's 1 + 1. You have to have both of them. I think that a lot of people are focusing on environment, and that's great because that's something you can do something about, but not that many people focus on the genetics. I'm a geneticist, so that's what I focus on, not that it's more important, but I think it's equally important. Knowing the genetic risk can teach you what things to avoid better. It can teach you what things that can help to mitigate the problem. Knowing the environmental risk can do the same thing. So I think they're equally important.
Do you have any?
So much this entire week, right? We've heard so much about the new numbers and who's affected and who's not. And while, we definitely know that we have a greater number because physicians are better at diagnosing it, but they're getting better at diagnosing it because there's no more autism. So they're having more experience with it. I've been an educational advocate for 25 years. I have a son who's 30, who was really part of that initial bubble, if you will, where we saw significant growth. And I can certainly tell you, I work as an advocate in the 6th largest school district in this country. And the numbers of students who are in special education programs, not the kids we would have missed before, have grown so exponentially that the systems have not kept up with the numbers. And the children who are really getting what they need, whether it is through medical intervention, educational intervention, looking at housing and opportunities for employment, they're generally the kids whose parents remain the most active, because there are ways out there to be able to access the supports, but there's no silver platter. So it's really good that you guys are here because you're getting a bit of the silver platter here, but you really have to learn more as much as you can, because the services, even if somebody comes up with some like where it's from, if you will, we're still going to need to advocate for treatment, for housing, for job opportunities, for better education. So the needs to advocate is not going to decrease. If anything, it could actually increase. So I just encourage you all to do that. So I think the numbers are not just like, it's not just genetics, it's not just environmental, it's not just this type of autism versus that type of autism. I think that every person that I ever met with autism, and it doesn't really matter if they were a speaker or non-speaker, they all want to be a valuable member of society, have a job if that's what they choose, or to volunteer, but to have a quality of life that every human wants to have.
Lynn, do you want to?
I agree with everything you said, and I think one of the things that we have to do is, if we do start getting to the bottom of some of this, so to speak, is we cannot forget those who really still need us. There are way too many out there that are not getting what they need, and what I'm the most concerned about is if they come up tomorrow and say, these are the 3 things, so we're going to turn the numbers back around. Our children are here. These children are here. We have parents here who have come up to us and said, my child is 4 years old, help. Okay? We can't forget them. They're here. And I think everything she said is right. I don't work in the school system, she does, but I will tell you what I do know from on the homeschooling side, because I've been a long-term homeschooling activist, is there are a lot of parents who homeschool their children because they're frantic. It's not because they're, I'm going to be a homeschool parent. It's, I don't know what else to do. And until we accept that we have to do more, I'm all about finding the solutions, but that's above my pay grade. I'm just trying to help the people that need the help.
And in that vein, I failed finishing an Ironman twice before I succeeded the third time. And for those of you that don't know what an Ironman is, it's 2.4 miles of swimming, 112 miles of biking, and 26.2 miles of running, all in under 17 hours. And I thought I could do it in Texas, but humidity, heat, headwinds, hills, they took me down like Superman to kryptonite. I attempted it again in Des Moines, Iowa. Got the same or similar conditions. Also, I didn't have the right equipment. I realized I really had to invest not just in money like a new watch and better bike, but also putting in the time. And I too do not use functioning labels. I feel when you call someone low functioning, you discount or dismiss their strengths and capabilities. When you call someone high functioning, you discount or dismiss their needs or struggles. So in my book, functioning labels, whether you put them on yourself or you put them on others, that's the F word. Don't use it.
Temple, I'm asking you, yeah.
Okay.
Hypothetically, let's say RKF Jr. approached you to give advice on what the government needs to do, one, to maybe reduce the incidence of autism, and second, how to manage. What advice would you give the government?
Well, I think we're going to have to go all local because basically we're running out of money.
Okay.
I've just looked at I went to several sources. I checked out our national budget. Over half of it supports seniors right now.
Okay.
Over half of our national budget. Research money in my field and labs have been closing in a 50-year trend line.
Okay.
And we're going to have to start doing a lot more local stuff. We need to tap into these retirees with the early intervention that we're not getting. We're 2-year wait lists, totally terrible. And I was happy to find some people I talked to at lunch where they're doing some of this with retirees. Some of these people are 20 years younger than me. They need to be working with these 3-year-olds. That's what we're going to need to do. Tap into retirees to teach an art class, teach a music class, teach a whole lot of different things. You know, I read an article the other day that cruises in golf are not all what they're cracked up to be. That was in one of the papers. We're going to have to get into the local sources. Also, over the years, I've changed my terminology. I have old publications that say high and low functioning. I can't change that.
Okay.
But my new publications, I'll call them nonverbal or non-speaking. Remain nonverbal, don't speak. Got rid of high and low functioning. Some of the older stuff, some of the activists got after me. Now, sometimes I think they can go overboard on all this jargon and things like this.
Exactly, yeah.
Because I just like to figure out really practical things. Okay, like the really nice lady right here was telling me, I like to give you an example of the kind of problem solving that I like to do. And when she was alone, she feels really scared because she's helpless. And I said, well, let's find a way for you to call somebody on a phone. Well, it has to be auditory. So we're going to just teach Siri that is one person, is another person, and then you just call on a speakerphone. You don't have to buy expensive stuff. I think they could be done with existing equipment. That's a simple thing to do. Okay, different buttons on the wheelchair that won't work. Okay, well then we don't use that. There's so many simple things. I remember one time watching a wonderful video a guy presented that showed a kid somewhere in Africa got one of those Blade Runner legs, got a pair of them. And he was just so happy out there stomping in the mud puddles. And something like that makes a lot more sense than a fancy electronic leg that's going to just break.
Okay.
It's also something they could probably make in local shops. You see, this is where a visual thinker sees solutions to problems. You see, that idea for that phone thing, it's a car phone. You say, now call so-and-so. Well, we just got to make those little abrupt sounds. Why am I picking out those sounds? Because I don't want it accidentally going off all the time. It has to be something you do very deliberately that'll make it call somebody. I just think that stuff up. I mean, that's what visual thinkers do. I heard a solution to a problem. I also saw car phone in a car, too. The activists got all over some parent group that's called Profound Autism. And these are the people who need 24/7 care. You know where I've seen some of the best 24/7 care for really severe? Some faith-based groups. I've actually seen some very, very good programs Benjamin's Hopes in Michigan, Brookwood in Texas. It's all private money. So some of the best programming I've seen for, I don't know what you want to call them, but these are the people that need 24/7 care. And they grow up into adults, and the parents can't take care of them for the rest of their lives. You know, that's just examples of some things I've seen that really worked well. We need more of that kind of stuff.
So we'll touch on an important but sensitive topic. Tom spoke about his impending getting married, and you have chosen to live life by yourself. Between the two of you to discuss, because very often people on the spectrum who are older, they approach doctor and say, should we get a child married? What would be your advice?
Oh, there's been some very successful marriages. And the wife runs the business. No, seriously. There's been some very successful marriages. I know 2 computer programmers that got together. That's been very successful. They're both on the spectrum. And you know what they did for their engagement dinner? You got to go to a white table restaurant. You got to have candles, because you got to set the stage for a super romantic discussion on computer data storage systems, because they are the most interesting thing in the world. And 2 chemists got together.
Oh, okay.
Yep, there's been, some of these you intend to have nonverbal autistic kids. Yeah, there's a place for getting married. I had one parent come to me and said, my son's doing great. He got married, bought a house, going just great. If my book helped somebody to do that, I think that's really a good thing. No, they should get to do all the things that regular people do. Some of them have got kids. That's been successful. I'm a problem solver. And I think I figured out a way for you to get a phone that you can use. They'll call 2 or 3, maybe at least 2 numbers. Because I'd be anxious too if I was you and I was all by myself.
So, Tom, your views?
For my part, as far as marriage goes, there was a time I thought I wouldn't get married. And I was in a relationship with a woman on the autism spectrum, but it didn't work out. My parents, and they're still together. My mom and dad are still married after 45 years, but they live over 1,000 miles away from me. There was a time they offered me the opportunity to move up to where they were going. I said, I've built a life here. I'm going to stay. So actually, my parents, as much as I love them, being out of the equation actually helped me blossom. Yeah. I see we have some agreement. And Rosetta, she had to step out to check on an order of hers, but we had met in person 6 years ago at an event, kind of like this one. So we knew each other in person, face to face, stayed in touch online. During the pandemic, she moved to Virginia. That's where she hails from. I was in California. Then I was doing the Ironman in Maryland, the one I finished. And before that, I said, I'd like to meet you again. So we made arrangements after I finished the Ironman to meet, and we decided to get married, and we're getting married in September. And there are people in my life, unfortunately, that are thinking this would never happen. And now that it is, they are struck. Don't you think that woman is the most gorgeous woman out there, crown or not? And for someone with autism, and she's not on the autism spectrum, but I am able to make our relationship work. We have our struggles, as any couple does, but we believe that it's going to work out. And statistically speaking, only about 7% of people with autism ever get married. And even fewer stay married. So we have some resistance, some difficult spots, but our love matters. And I really wish she was here to hear me say that.
I would like to add, although that's very good, because as a pediatrician and as a person with a disability myself, I have a wife, 3 kids. One, we also adopted a special needs daughter who has Netherton syndrome from wound care side. We won't get into all that. But the point is, I'm sure you guys are familiar with the term ableism, right? A lot of times a neurotypical individual is going to say, well, back in the old days, I wanted to go to the movies. Well, we didn't want to invite Tyler because he couldn't walk up into the stairs, right? So they were trying to save my feelings because they didn't want me to fall down the stairs, for example, when really I just wanted to be invited to the movies, let's say. So the point of all this I'm making is you just got to look outside the box and allow, there's a lot of blessings. We're all handicapped. Mind the world can see. We're all struggling with something. We all wish we could change something about ourselves, and that's the whole point about whether you're on the spectrum or not, right? But I think it has very much, we have to combat ableism in this country. Going back to what I would say to RFK, if it was for me or for anybody else with a disability, is when we lose value in people, we start to fail. And I think that's where the slip is, even though maybe some of his comments in his mind, he was actually trying to help. I want to believe that, right? He was talking about the severe autism where they're never going to get married. I mean, I see these kids. So do you, Dr. Sharma. So do you, you're the occupational therapist. That's a real thing that we deal with, and these parents are looking for hope. So I don't want to say that by any means he's inherently evil, but it's a crass comment, and realizing and finding people's value and how they navigate the world.
And people that are non-speaking, if they're in a job, know the difference between real work and stupid little busy work. And the other place where I've seen some really great programs is when the chairman or the president of a company has a child with a disability. I've forgotten the name of the man that did the warehouses at the Walgreens pharmacy, the distribution warehouses. He changed the computer so you didn't have to read, and the crews with the intellectual disabilities did better than the so-called regular people working in these warehouses. You see where the top does it. I went and I visited a plant in Mexico that actually had a very good program. There was a guy there that had, he said we had a boardroom meeting, and he said, well, I have Asperger's, and I now support my family. I support my sick grandmother. He was very proud of that. They put boxes together. Well, they had a marble stair in their corporate office. 3 people carried the wheelchair upstairs. It sort of was just the attitude of doing it in the middle of Mexico. Again, an owner of a company that has a child with a severe disability makes stuff like this happen.
So about 35% of autistics cannot use speech for communication. These non-speakers can learn to type. I learned to type at age 5. It's never too late to teach a non-speaker to type. With typing, we can be educated and live productive lives. Please read to your children. They understand what you are saying. You are teaching them to read. There are now thousands of typers around the world, graduating from college. You need to work on these body issues. Thank you to all the doctors. You cannot learn if you feel terrible. Regulation issues affect so many of us. We are working on getting non-speakers out of fight or flight. Communication and regulation for all. You can do this, parents. We appreciate all you do for us, even if we can't say the words. Non-speakers suffer in silence. Please use Communication for All to teach them to type free of charge. We have stencil sets to give you so you can give your child a voice, and we have them over here for after the presentation. First come, first serve, we want to give them away. C4A Academy is our program of instructional videos. You can do it. We are all human beings who want to connect. We don't want to be left alone. Take us out to museums and for walks in nature. You can learn from parents who have walked the path and autistics who live the life. Non-speakers have a motor disorder, not a cognitive one. We want to have relationships of all kinds. We are just like you. Look beyond our differences. Please believe your children have gifts for the world. The world will be a better place when all non-speakers can communicate and share their gifts. There are more than 30 million non-speakers in the world and only a few thousand typers. Please join our mission to change this. Most non-speakers are diagnosed with intellectual disability, and we have a motor disorder. Don't believe the IQ tests. We need to learn to type to show you what we know. Giving an iPad with a picture exchange system is not enough. We need 26 letters to express ourselves and be educated. Please watch the Spellers movie on YouTube. It will show you how typing changes lives from hopeless to hopeful. Profound autism conflates non-speaking with intellectual disability wrongly. Non-speaking doesn't equal non-thinking. Teach them to type. We are all interdependent. I was extremely self-injurious and have great empathy. Please don't give up hope. The right doctor can help. A virus triggered PANS, an autoimmune reaction. It is serious and needs expert treatment. Parents, keep pushing the medical science. You are the expert on your child. Find doctors that believe autism is a treatable condition.
This question is for Dr. Bowles. This is about the supplements that you had shared earlier. Is there a protocol to wean off the clients or patients who are using them, or is it more like a lifelong usage of these items?
I think that depends on why the supplements are started in the first place. If they're started because you want to improve your concentration and focus a bit, and then you do it on your own or go to an environment in which that's not necessary, then you can decrease it. But for the most part, autism was present at conception, at least the genetic component of it, and the neurological part was present in very early life. And most people continue these supplements for a long time. I do want to mention one thing that from earlier is that when we're talking about autism, we're talking about an extremely wide spectrum. And on one side, you have the billionaires, and obviously they are employed and they are getting married, and they are thinking of themselves as neuro-unique and not disabled, and that's very, very valid, and they are actually offering a tremendous amount for society. And on the other end of the spectrum, as a pediatrician, I see people that have very severe intellectual disability, who have abilities of a 3-year-old when they're intellectually while they're an adult. Maybe they can't even walk very well, maybe they have seizures, maybe they have serious problems as well. And those are also with autism. And those people are not going to get married and are not going to be employed. And then there's everything in between. There's a tremendous spectrum. And so it's really hard to talk about everything on the same spectrum with the same answer.
I can't stress enough how much people underestimate the autism population. Yep. We are overlooked, we are undervalued, and unfortunately we believe what we are told, sometimes too much. When we're told we can't do something, we internalize it, we believe it, and we stick with that. It took a lot of me to get out of my own way and realize I don't have to listen to the haters. I'm going to do more with my life, and look where I'm going.
Well, one of the things the projects that were shown in the HBO movie I did in the 70s, and I wanted to prove I wasn't stupid. That was a huge motivation for me, as a lot of people, since I couldn't do higher math, thought I was absolutely stupid and I wouldn't be able to do anything. And then I discovered these other people out there that owned machine shops, couldn't do higher math either, and were on the autism spectrum, and they had really good businesses and 20 patents. That made my day when I discovered them.
How would you respond to people with autism or their family members who participate in self-isolation because of the maybe fear of judgment of going into the community, and what you would say maybe to inspire them to go into the community more and participate in the community more?
Well, Mother always had me out in the community, and she had a very good sense of how she could stretch me and the things that I'd be capable of doing. Like, for example, when we went to my grandmother's house for Sunday dinner, for my exercise, I was allowed to play Beat the Elevator, and I could run up 5 flights of stairs before the elevator got there, and that kind of run the energy out of me. Another thing they did is I only had to sit at the family table for 20 minutes. Then I could ask to be excused, but if dessert wasn't served, I didn't get any. So if I wanted dessert, I had to stay. You see, she always put some choice in there, but she had a very good sense of how much to stretch me, and she realized that big, noisy crowds were sometimes a problem, but I'm concerned that some moms just totally overprotect. They can't let go to let their kid do the most innocent things, like while you're pumping gas in the car, have the kid run in and buy some milk at the store. And I had one mom says, I don't have the guts to do that. You see, this is where the moms just can't let go at all, and they're doing everything for the child, and the kid's not learning anything. And I have a book called The Loving Push, and that was aimed at, getting these moms to get them out gradually doing things. You see, I've seen huge problems with everything being done for them, and they're not learning any skills. And we had a rule that it had to be on the list. So as soon as I knew how to write, I'd put things on the list, and I would help with grocery shopping. I'd go and get things on the list, put them in the basket. I was learning that at a very young age. Yes, and you do Walmart, for example, that's one of our big stores, when it's not so busy.
In California, where I live, I don't know if they do it here in Florida or other places, there are certain reduced sensory hours. Like you can go in between like 7, 8 a.m., less lighting, less people, a lot more better shopping experience. But I've written a book, Come to Life, Your Guide to Self-Discovery, to address getting out there. Life doesn't come to you, my friends. It's up to you to come to life. Are we keeping our kids out from out there? And also in addressing the naysayers, the people that might be holding us back in a sense. That's in my book, My Glass is Full. And these are available for sale.
Is in neuro needs, we have some people with autism that work for us, and they are in positions in which their abilities are perfect for their job. They are better than a neurotypical person at that job, because we know that they can do that, and we know autism. We just need to get the word out that these people have certain abilities that allow them to do things better than other people, that it's not charity, that employers will want to hire them. And they'll want to give them a good wage. We think that, this is what Dr. Grandin was talking about, is the way of fixing things and pictures and everything, is that they have abilities that other people don't have. We just need to get that word out.
We wouldn't have any computers without all the people in the tech industry. And I've given talks there, and half those programmers are on the spectrum. Yeah, I've been to those companies. I've sat in their fancy restaurant, watched all the nerds come in. We need the skills. See, that's the thing. At one end of the spectrum, and you've got Steve Jobs and Bill Gates. Bill Gates is official now. He's on the spectrum. And he's had a very successful business. Another thing, both me and Bill Gates were taught that you give back. That was something we were both taught. I have put 23 graduate students through school paying for their masters and their PhDs. That's what I've done with the book money and speaking engagement money. And Bill Gates said you get huge amounts of money going into healthcare. We were both brought up in an era where you give back, which it's been really eye-opening for me to read his book, because so much of how we were brought up was very, very similar.
Thank you so much for all of your work that you do. And I need to emphasize that profound autism is real. Work is being done right now to put it in the DSM so that we can have a specific name for the people that will require lifetime support. And as much as, of course, we want our kids to continue to grow and to thrive and to be as independent as possible, it's very important to recognize that for some people, they are not going to be independent. And the best thing that we can do is continue to support them, have trained caregivers, because one day we're not going to be here anymore, and our kids are still going to need care. And the system is very broken for them. And it's hard. Autism is not always awesome for everyone. It's hard. And, when you see kids that are or adults that are beating their heads and they've lost their eyesight because they're banging their head on the wall, these are real things that they're dealing with. And so it's a big spectrum. When we adopted our kiddo that's special needs, the developmental doctor, the first thing that he told us to do was watch your movie, Dr. Grandin. And it was amazing for us. And it was very eye-opening. And the encouragement was there for him, and we are still encouraging our kiddo. But he's almost 20 years old, and he still can't use the bathroom by himself, not completely independent. He can't brush his teeth by himself. And that's a goal that he worked on the entire time that he was in school. So we have to recognize that, he's not going to get married. He's not going to be able to live the same life that my other kids can live. He's not going to be able to drive a car. But any improvement that he can make towards being independent, we're going to continue to push him. I mean, he's still in therapy. He just got on a horse 2 weeks ago. We were shocked about that. We never thought he would get on the horse. We thought he's going to go and brush the hair of the horse and just be there. But no, he did. And so that improvement that he made, I mean, we're thrilled, and we're going to continue to do that. But we also have to prepare him and his brothers and sisters that, he's going to need care after we're gone. So I just wanted to say that remember, and I appreciate everybody's positivity, but remember that for some people, they have kids and family members with profound autism that are going to need lifetime care.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. In my talks, one of the things I talk about all the time is we're going from Einstein that somebody is going to need, constant care, 24/7 care. You see, this is one of the problems. And it's such a big spectrum, all with the same word on it. And I totally agree with you. And every talk I do, I make a point of, some of the activists attack the term profound autism. And I'm not the one who's attacking it.
People that have the loudest voice are putting in the input, but the people that can't speak and their caregivers, God bless them, are tired. I mean, it's all you can do to pay the bills and take care of a person, change adult diapers, emergency room visits. Nobody wants to babysit, so you can forget going places. It's hard. So those people are left out of the research and the statistics. And so it's important for us as the autism community as a whole to remember that 27%.
Okay, now I'm very interested in the 27%.
That's profound autistics.
Okay, where that figure came from. Just from my experience, I'm pretty sure that's correct.
I was just at the Profound Autism Summit last week in Boston, and that was the figures that they gave, and I trust
But
that.
I've seen parents just completely stressed out. I remember one respite program they had in Texas, and the family was so stressed out, they just put the music on in their air-conditioned car and just laid there for 4 hours. That was how stressed out they were. 4 hours of respite, and this is very different than somebody like me or somebody like Bill Gates. It's a totally different thing. And then you have some that are kind of medium that may not be totally independent, but they can do a lot of life skills. It's such a big spectrum.
I really believe that what we need more people that care, more people that don't have autism, that care, like teenagers and, like you said, seniors, that can help parents, that are trained, that there just needs to be more compassion in our society, and I feel like that should be a part of the message that the autism community is putting out there.
Well, the other problem we got was certain advocacy, autism community, they attacked me, they've called me ableist, they've called me bad things. Some of it, they just put so much venom out there,
right,
that you're not actually getting things done. One of the things that 25 years, you got to remember I'm 25 years in the construction industry, and I have found that it affects how I think about things. You have to build things and solve problems and not just talk about it. You got to do stuff. You got to get projects done. You got to make them work. You got to not fight everybody. You don't get jobs done doing that.
It is to support children like yours that I made that comment that didn't go over well. That autism is a very large spectrum. I see kids that appear to be profound. Some of them become mild autism because of the right treatment. Sometimes we find the exact gene and they get much better. Some of them become moderate autism, but some of them stay profound, even if we find the gene. Some of them we can't help today in 2025, no matter what we do. And you're right, the community is not really supporting them to the degree that perhaps that we should. And we need to consider them as well as the others.
I need to just add something. You said there's no research on profound autism.
Very little, like 6%.
But
people with
no, just to let you know that we are actually doing intense research through brain scans. So we are doing PET CT scans, and we are noticing that those children and adults with profound autism have a very different type of hypometabolism in the brain. So we are able to, through brain scans, separate the mild from the moderate from the severe. And we're also able to, we can also see which parts of the brain are working more and what special skill sets they could possibly have. So today, especially in the neuroimaging world, the focus is shifting from what they cannot do, the brain that is not working properly, to what they can do. And as in all the talks, including what Temple spoke about and Tom spoke about, once we identify what is the thing that they are specially connected to, feel about, and then give them coaching in that, they do miracles. Now the treatments that we have, the treatment that Titler said, hyperbaric oxygen, our own treatment with stem cell therapy, we are able to help the people with profound autism as well, because the stem cells go and repair that part of the brain which is damaged. And we are seeing non-verbal, there's no question about the improvement. A child who's non-verbal for 8-9 years starts talking, Now there is no question about whether it worked or not, because you're non-verbal, and surprisingly, among the first things that the children say, they tell their mothers, "I love you, mommy." We've got dozens of kids where among the first things that comes out is expression of love. It was just bottled up inside, and it actually gets expressed. Yes, there is work being done. Those distinctions are happening, and it is likely that in the future, the combination of stem cells with hyperbaric oxygen and rehab will possibly help the children.
I want to make a quick comment to you.
Go ahead.
One thing you didn't say in what you just talked about with profound autism, you voluntarily took that on, which is amazing. Not a lot of people would do what you did.
Thank you for your contribution.
So that's
Rosetta.
a lot.
You're on, Rosetta.
We are here because we're together, right? Because we love one another. We're talking about autism. These great people on this panel have different views, different point of views. Remember, we look at life different ways. Each person brings something great to the table. So let's respect every person on the panel, and everyone here is being respected. The thing I would like to point out is that I remember going to Tanzania, and Tom and I was talking with a lady there. She said the moment her son was born, her and her husband was told he would never be married. She would never have grandkids. Now, for my experiences being a nurse, I'm not a nurse now, I'm a motivational speaker, but I was a nurse. So I know what it's like to change diapers. I know what it's like to take care of someone. But I also know patients that are unestimated. So it's very important, no matter what you're told about your child or your loved one, never set the bar so low that you keep it there, that you miss something great about your loved ones. I love y'all. Thank you for your time.
So 2 days ago, we went to our neurologist, and we were trying to understand, is there a way of defining physically in the brain autism? And she said no. She provided certain suggestions, and we felt so bad that we didn't tell her that 2 weeks before we have had stem cell treatment in India. So there's such a bad perception in the US, unfortunately. And one of the things that she said is there's no research. In our minds, like, Dr. Sharma has all the research in the world. Specifically, she pointed out to Duke University. Duke University is the one that has done the most studies in the US, but they only do stem cell treatments for kids with cancer. So my suggestion and pledge, Dr. Sharma, how can we let the world about your research? And I know you have it. You are open to give it to anyone who wants that. What can we do, us here, to help the world know about the success of your treatment?
Whether it's leaders, politicians, regulators, they finally listen to people. You're the real voice. You are what is real. All of us, some of us, have professions, some of us have a conflict of interest, some of us have particular preferences or beliefs, but parents have one and only one thing in their mind, the well-being of their children. Is there anything else that you can even think of? Nothing. So your voice is the voice that will be heard. And when you speak it loud enough and repeat it enough, there will be a change. Change comes about when people like you speak out. Because, we believe our own clinical experience is showing us that when we are treating younger children at about 3 with stem cell therapy, within 6 months they are going off the spectrum. The older the child, the longer it takes. And it is my hope and dream that one day this becomes a standard of care. You know, the moment it is diagnosed, especially kids who are profound, will need it. There are children who will not need it. There are a whole lot of children who are mild, who adapt and who get along with life very well. But not everyone. There will be what she's talking about, the profound kids who need help. You know, there's something called a hole in the heart. Kids with Down syndrome have a hole in the heart. If you have a hole in the heart, you fix it. You know, the cardiac surgeon will go and do something and fix it. So, if there is severe and profound damage, it needs to be fixed. And what we are seeing is that once you fix that, whether it's hyperbaric oxygen, whether it's whether it's the supplements that he was talking about, whether it's the stem cell I talk about, whether it's the rehab he talks about, in my lecture I said it all works together. So your voice is the voice that will be heard. Anybody else, any questions?
I have one question. I'm watching with the gentleman behind me who is telling about that. Even my neurologist did not believe when we started the stem cell therapy for my son. But after 3 or 4 visits to India to the neurogen, the changes she saw in the kid, it's unbelievable. My son is the same patient for last 6 to 7 years with the same neurologist, with the therapies and everything. The development, what she saw after stem cell therapy is totally different. We could able to make understand the neurologist, but the school system did not understanding us actually. Some of my friends, when they go to this kind of a different kind of a therapy out of the book, which is not profound in very popular in USA, they're not even going to tell in their schools actually. They're telling that we're going to vacation for 5 days, 6 days. We did the same thing. We went to the school. I said my kid got help. If somebody needs help, you call my number, I'll tell them the same thing. I told every parent who called me, and I given the number, I told him that what are the benefits which my kid got. I feel if we don't keep the awareness of these things of a different methods, it is impossible to help the whole community. The community needs help. We have to be together to help the system. Because if the system doesn't help, we have to come up from our own side from here and help the system.
My son can see a video now.
Yeah.
Head, shoulders, knees, and toes. And by God, he's following the video for the first time in his life, touching his head, his shoulders, his knees, and toes. He can say 3 weeks out of a stem cell. He can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, even though he has apraxia, and sometimes he closes his mouth to talk. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and we practice that every day. It's a miracle. It's science.
But
there's science behind it.
You tell the doctor in the U.S., and there's where is that coming from? We feel uncomfortable telling them because they tell us there's no research. And that's why even though we speak up, we feel outcast. Because that's the system in the U.S. today. It punishes anyone that does any research outside the United States. They don't consider that research. It's I haven't seen any research. Neurologist practicing over 20 years.
His pediatrician who didn't believe started believing after she saw the improvements. Go back and say, this is the improvements. Your child was not talking. He's talking within 3 weeks of the stem cell therapy. There is no rocket science to it. A child not talking starts saying ABC till Z after 3 weeks. That's a positive sign. Let the world know it. Speak up for it, and then slowly things will change. You know, and we now have the present health secretary, R.K. Jr., he has actually tweeted about stem cells and hyperbarics. He's actually tweeted that these are things that were intentionally suppressed. He says it openly. He says these were suppressed by the FDA. The health secretary of the United States is saying that treatments like hyperbaric, stem cell, and all these other nutraceuticals, he mentions nutraceuticals, were intentionally suppressed. So when you speak up, they will listen. People do listen to parents.
Yes, and what I did is, I did not listen to any of the parents or anything. I keep on stressing that, yes, we are treating with the same thing, we are treating with the same thing. We will be integrating with the other therapies, yes, but we're not going to leave that. If you think it is not helping, it is your opinion, but not my opinion. I'll do the good thing what my kid needs. I'll stand up for my kid.
The gentleman had a question.
What does the solution look like? Can come from a place of curiosity and discovery rather than who's using language itself. Ask for more discovery about why they were guided in language that way. And maybe, just maybe, instead of just seeing a lot of trees in Kansas during the 30s Dust Bowl trying to survive, maybe we use discovery, we have curiosity with all the groups to bring ourselves into one big collective force that can leverage the impact the world is missing. Thank you.
I think the one big thing, and I'm going to get this lady too, is I'm in Melbourne, for example. The grassroots you hear about, it's finding somewhere locally that believes, and that's where it starts with tremendous experience. And Dr. Sharma and I have worked together in hyperbarics for years now, right? And I go to India consistently. So you got to find the forward-thinking physicians that collaborate, that are thought thinkers and innovators. But for those of you guys who are out there, for me, Brevard Regional Hyperbaric Center, if you guys are around here locally an hour away, come see me.
Those willing and able physicians are very few. And creating some sort of inventory, some sort of Facebook page where you can access and really point out specifically these physicians. We asked our neurologists about hyperbarics. There's no research. What they should point out is the kid that died in Ohio. So they're using those small mistakes sort of to prevail these sort of veil. We need an inventory list of those physicians that are willing. And if everybody can contribute, we have one. But I think if everybody can contribute, who are those physicians that are willing to work looking at alternative medicines?
TACA has a list. If you go into the Facebook group of TACA, and then you have to submit your child, because they only accept people that has kids in the spectrum, right? And they do have a file that is always updated with doctors in the United States that are like pandas, and you can find Rossignol and Dr. Fry's names there.
Any other questions?
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Masi. I'm from Kenya. I'm a mother of triplet boys with autism. We have to believe that autism is treatable. So we are coming from a background noise that autism cannot be treated. So you get this diagnosis and you are in limbo, you struggle, and then somehow you find the light. So I found some light. We've been doing stem cells since my sons were 5.5. I mean, it has been a game changer. I have come from a state of constant clinical depression to just smiling. I mean, you all saw my son, Ricky, even ask Dr. Temple a question. And I mean, that is, I never even knew he's at that space. So what am I saying? What I'm saying, especially to the parents, we have been fortunate to have all these professionals give us very fantastic talks and solutions, but as parents, what is our duty? I feel that our duty is to a call for action. Dr. Sharma said that everybody is speaking in their own space because you cannot be a jack of all trade. You see, that's why we have Dr. Richard is working on genetics and metabolism. We have the OT is working on sensory. We have Dr. Sharma working on stem cell, and so many others. So what I have done as a research, my background, I'm a research scientist, and it has really helped me because in research, we follow protocol to the dot. If you want your experiment to work, you have to follow from A to Z. That's exactly what I've done. I've taken Dr. Sharma's protocol, followed it A to C. I've taken Dr. Temple's protocol, lived experience. She stresses so much about independence and career. And I can tell you the last 2 years, her words have really shaped the way we are doing intervention for my sons. Right now, my 3 sons can all wash themselves, clean their butts, feed themselves, go to sleep, shower, they can mop the house, they can wash their clothes, brush, and now we are doing now outside independence. That's why you see like Ricky is roving all around from hall 1, A, B, C, and asking questions even I'm not there. Right now, I don't know where he is. He told me, Mom, I want to go and swim. I said, okay. I didn't even know there is a gym in this facility. But last night, Olivia, what did he say? Mom, I'm going to the gym. I asked him, did you carry gym clothes? He said, yes. And he went. So what I'm saying is that let us take what is ours. Their work is research. Let us implement. Let us take everything, not just one thing. It's all about, they have said it's research. And many parents ask me, Mercy, will stem cell work for my children? I'm like, yeah, because it's research. It doesn't know Lenny, it doesn't know your son, it has no face. It's research. Just follow the protocol. You know that stem cell cannot work on its own, work on the diet, metabolism, work on multidisciplinary neurorehabilitation, and definitely be patient. For us, it's been a journey of 8 years. Those who were in Sylvie's talk yesterday morning, they saw my son riding a bicycle, participating in a charity event to raise funds for a school of special needs, and he was actually riding in a crowded highway. I mean, I saw that, and I'm still smitten. I'm still overwhelmed. So please, parents, let's take our mat and walk. Thank you.
I wanted to ask Elizabeth what we can do to help you and your mission and the legislation, to have legislation passed in the government.
We need to fight to enforce the Americans with Disabilities Act in schools, which is something that she is desperately trying to do for families across the country who, even after they learn how to type, are being denied that accommodation in their schools. So again, there's so many things to do. Thank you for the question. That's only one of many things. But you can go to our website, communication, 4all.org, and we have a take action section. And it'll tell you about what Elizabeth is doing to try to help all those who suffer in silence.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you. So we'd like to wind up now. We'll ask each panel member to give a concluding remark. Lynn?
I just think that conversations like this are what are needed. We all look at it differently, and that's what makes it right. Because if we all agree with each other all the time, the world would be a very boring place. And we each have our different needs that don't make anybody less or anybody more. We just all need to work together